with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship. We're going yonder, and we're going to cause a sweet aroma to rise up before the Lord. Verse 6. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son. And he took the fire in his hand and a knife. And they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold, the fire and the wood, but you forgot something. He's trying to help him. You know, we've done this many times, and Daddy, every time we go, I know everything that we take, and I'm responsible for gathering some of the things. And Daddy, we forgot the lamb for the burnt offering. And Abraham said, My son, look at this. He said, God will provide himself a lamb. We know that's Jesus. Jesus is the sacrifice that set the atmosphere so that I can come to God. Jesus made me irresistible to God. When I get up in the morning, I say, Oh, my Father. He says he's talking to me. Yes, my son. God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. And they came to the place which God had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order and bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven. Not standing there with him, out of heaven he called him. See, there's nothing that I have to be concerned about. When I set that atmosphere before God, if he have to send an angel from heaven, he'll deliver me. He's not going to let me die. He's not going to let me crash and burn. It doesn't matter where the help has to come from, how much help you need, things that you think are too big, there's no way out of this. God's got a solution. And if we would just come before him during the time of the daily offering and set that atmosphere in front of him. Man, come on. God gets in the mood. God gets in the mood. It's blessing time. It's blessing time. It's blessing time. It's blessing time. Come on, that's why he seeks those that would worship him in spirit and in truth, because that sets that atmosphere. And he's a blessing God, and he's looking for somebody to bless. That's why he seeks those that would worship him like that, so he can heap his blessing on. The Bible says that, man, this blessing will chase you down and overtake you. If you listen. What do you want you to do? Listen. Hearken unto the voice. He said, all these blessings. God wouldn't let him kill the boy. Angel of the Lord. The angel of the Lord. The angel of the Lord. In other words, this is God's personal assistant. God's personal assistant. Come on, man. Man, when Bishop's personal assistant calls me, I know that's like Bishop calling. Huh? I know that she ain't just calling me to talk. That she got instruction from Bishop, I need you to call Pastor Wilson and tell him I want to meet with him, or I want to talk to him, or I want to bless him. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. Verse 12. And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest God. What was his sacrifice? He loved God to the core. And he had so much reverence and respect for God that it put God in the mood. Watch this. For now I know that thou fearest God, seeing that thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. Verse 13. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thicket. God was in the mood. God was in the mood. Behind him a ram caught in the thicket by his horns, and Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering instead of his son. I believe the Lord just spoke to me regarding this passage. This is the reason why sometimes it's better not to ask. Now in the New Testament, the Bible tells us in Hebrews chapter number 11 that Abraham received Isaac back from the dead in a figure. In other words, he saw God raising him up from the dead. So if Abraham would have asked, he would have asked God to raise his son from the dead. But God had a ram. See, without any suffering of your son, we can set the atmosphere. Without any injury to your child, without destruction coming on that which you love, we can do this thing. See, Abraham said it out of his mouth. He said, God will provide for himself. What's my responsibility is just to respect him and to obey what he says. Yeah. You ever wonder, was that ram there before Abraham raised the knife? I don't know. I don't know. But I know this. The Lord knows what you need. Before you ask him. Abraham never asked him for a thing. He never asked him for a thing. And our God is so good. And he loves us so much. And his desire so is to heap blessing upon blessing on us. He doesn't want us to suffer. He doesn't want us in pain. He doesn't want us to be depressed. But it's important that our reverence for him be intact. Because if I don't reverence him, then his blessing will become the object of my worship. Let me show you. God blessed Abraham with a son. His blessing could have become the object of Abraham's worship. And so God said, bring the son back. And sacrifice him to me, and it'll smell good up here in heaven. But Abraham's heart showed the reverence and honor for God. Oh, I'm out of time. And then God provided for him. He was able to continue to bless him. Now, this is very similar to what happens when God says, you know what? I'm going to make sure you get a raise. And then he says, now bring me 10%. 10%. Okay, so you have begun to worship the blessing more than the blesser. The purpose for the sacrifice is to keep your heart, your fear, your reverence, your honor, your worship in order. The way it should be. Things can't get out of order. God told him in Deuteronomy, he said, when you get all these blessings, don't forget me. Because it's me that gives you power to get wealth. I gave you the houses that you didn't build your own self. And I filled them up for you. You ain't put nothing in there. I did that. So when you start walking in blessing, don't forget me. So make a sacrifice a couple times a day. Come to me and remember that your daily bread, your daily word that sustains you and keeps you anchored so that you don't ever give yourself to something other than him. All right, I'm out of time. Let's stand up and pray. Hemakle egondovre bednishe inglaza lamombreki isetama la boboresh. Hembrege jine eklaba zoro. Kimeje kana la basuklopota. Ambrogenji kide esakala bombreni isa.